Hey, hello out there, digital makers. Welcome back to Digital Making at Home. This week's episode is all about web development. If you haven't already, say hi in the chat and let us know where in the world you are. I'm Mr. C, and I'm coming to you live from Cambridge in the UK. And back with us, as always, is the conscientious Christina. How you doing?
Hello, hi everyone. I'm joining from Nebraska in the USA, and thank you to everyone joining us once again for another great episode of Digital Making at Home. Great to see you again, Mr. C.
You too.
Yes, and we already have lots of folks in the chat early today. I see Reese, Andrew, I see Christopher counting down, almost time. That's right, Christopher. Hello to Nuwa. Andrew in Maryland, USA. Amazing. Great to see you all getting involved. And we have some small change of plans today. Taylor, our guest, was not able to make it. We hope she can join us in the future. But today's special guest, we were able to get another guest, so drum roll, please. It's my brother,
Amazing.
Juan-Carlos. I'm super excited to have him join. Juan-Carlos is a software engineer, and he's going to share about his journey to becoming a software engineer at an energy company that manages solar and wind farms. And I also just learned that this was his job. So I have a lot of questions. We're going to talk to him about some cool projects he's made as well. Then after that, we are going to use Raspberry Pi to host a website and to stream video across a network.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that part. It's not super tricky, but I'm hoping I'll be able to get it on the stream so you can see how it works, and I can use it as the basis for a project I'll be working on in the future. And for those of you who are with us for the first time this week, welcome. Digital Making at Home is all about getting young people to reach out and change the world around them with technology. Every Wednesday, we chat with incredible inventors and makers from all over the globe. We create cool things together and see amazing digital making projects from young people worldwide.
And we love having all of you here with us each week making cool stuff. We broadcast every episode live to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Your comments come through to us live from those platforms. I can see them right here, and we love hearing from you all each week during the show. Feel free to jump in, chat with each other, ask questions, or let us know your opinion. I see Eddie's Tech in Manchester, UK. Hello to John on YouTube in Calgary, Canada. We have Kenny in Zambia. Oh my gosh, it's so cool to see Detroit. Yeah,
it's awesome.
Dublin. Hello.
We get all your messages, everybody, and we love your input. And if you haven't been shouted out yet, don't give up. Just keep asking us good questions, sharing your own stories with us in the chat, talking about relevant stuff, and we'll bring you in. And also make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube because it really does help us out. Or head to rpf.io/sub to get our content fresh off the press.
Yes, subscribe. We just got 3,000 subscribers. Subscribing to our channel means joining a global community of young digital makers and educators and helping us further our global mission to change the world with digital making. Come be a part of the team. Shout out to Roger, Caroline, and Madeline, some of our most recent subscribers. Thank you for joining the Raspberry Pi community.
Absolutely. So, shall we bring Juan-Carlos on now and have a chat with him about his experience as a software engineer and ask him some embarrassing questions about your childhood?
I don't know.
Awesome. Juan-Carlos, are you there?
Yeah.
Hey,
what's up?
How's it going, man?
Howdy, y'all.
All right, Juan-Carlos, let's jump right in. I know you're my brother, but what do you do again?
Well, I'm a software developer at an energy company. And what we're doing now is we're basically managing solar and wind farms. So in the same way that you might have like an apartment building that's owned by one person, but managed by another group, we help owners of solar and wind farms basically get the most out of their solar and wind farms, make them great investments, and ideally make the grid more stable and reliable.
That's really cool. And have you been working in solar and wind energy for a long time?
No, actually, this is a pretty recent job. I've just been there for about the past year. I was working in healthcare before, and I got really excited about the energy industry. It's really fascinating. How does it work? How does the grid work? It's crazy. Nobody really knows, but it's really fun to learn about electricity, learn about energy, learn about batteries, transmission, power generation, all of it. So I got really excited about it. I listened to a bunch of podcasts. I read some books, and I started looking at companies, and luckily they needed software developers. So that's how I got into it.
Wow,
that's awesome,
yeah.
Man. And so the software that you write for that company, do you then streamline the energy production and transmission and things like that using software controls? Is that the idea, I guess?
Well, what we're actually doing is we're forecasting how much energy is going to be needed. So we operate in a bunch of different countries, but For example, Australia has lots of solar. So we're looking at basically how much energy is available in the form of solar, in the form of wind. We're making predictions, and then we're making predictions about how much energy is needed on the other side, on the demand side. And then basically that allows us to tell the owners of these solar and wind farms how much they should charge for the energy that they're producing. And so basically we participate in the process of balancing the grid, because balancing the grid is both a physical problem of actually ensuring that there's enough electrons to meet the demand, and it's also a financial problem to ensure that there's enough incentive to bring in additional generation as it's needed.
Wow. Definitely, I just have to shout out to the folks in the chat. A lot of folks saying hi, lots of excitement. Also, Dad's in the chat. I don't think we told them that you're going to be on the stream with us today.
Nice.
We just got a shout out from Dad saying, very proud of my tech offspring.
Amazing.
Love you, Dad.
Hi, Dad. Love you, Dad.
I think my parents are watching this show as well. I had a chat with them earlier today, and they're saying they're watching. So hi to my parents as well.
Hello, parents. We hope we're making you proud. Well, JC, can you talk a little bit about what did you do before? So you've been working as a software engineer for a while. What did you work on before you moved over to energy?
Well, I originally started by building apps, and I was making apps on iPhones and iPads, and I was also doing a little bit of web development. And I really recommend that as a way of getting into programming and coding and software development.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, why would you recommend mobile apps as a way to start? And I did know you did that. I knew that was what you did as a job.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are a lot of things in between the mobile apps and the energy, but mobile apps I would recommend because it's really fun. The platform you're building on has so many cool abilities. You have the ability to communicate over a network, because the phone has a radio transmitter, and it also has a Bluetooth transmitter, so you can communicate with devices. And it's just such a cool platform because there's a GPS, and usually there's like an accelerometer, a gyroscope, so you can measure things like whether or not someone's holding the phone or moving it or walking or running. It's just so much fun. And also the tools and the tools are so important. And for me, when I was just getting started, I may have never even become a software developer if it weren't for just the fact that many of these platforms, whether it's Android or iOS, and also mobile web, there's just lots of great tools out there to learn how to, lots of great tools. And by tools, I mean things like, frameworks. So oftentimes these platforms will provide frameworks, like little libraries of code that are ready, packaged, pre-built, so you can do things like communicating to those devices, to those Bluetooth devices, or making those network requests so that you can request data from a backend that maybe you've been granted permission to get that information from, or it's frameworks for building UI. That's a big one because we all love to build like really great, responsive, flashy user interfaces, and that can be really challenging. Oftentimes that can be the most challenging aspect of any project, is how to get the UI out there. So anyway, the tools are great. That's what I love about it.
Yeah. I mean, I've never thought about it like that before, the idea that doing mobile development, you are developing for this Swiss Army knife that has all these crazy things pre-built in it, right? So if you just think about that as being this self-contained tool, and loads of people carry them, you're kind of building new tools for a Swiss Army knife, like every day, right? Like that's the way I think about it now, because I come up from the other end where you're compiling all these different pieces to cobble together something that you sort of like hack together out of your imagination. Whereas what you're doing is you've got this amazing tool. So when you're talking about young people working into this very complex tool, it could be a very complex tool. What sort of advice would you have for a young person building their first app?
Yeah, well, I think building apps is a great place to start. Because you're going to get exposure to, probably, lots of different requirements for the app. The app might have a UI, it might need to make network requests, and I would pay attention to what you're most excited about. My advice would definitely be to find a language and tools like these frameworks I've been referring to that have great documentation. That honestly is probably like the best advice I can give is find the environment that you enjoy working in. So if that's oftentimes you'll hear coders refer to IDEs, which is basically a development environment. It could be a simple text editor like open source free versions like Atom. It could, or there's lots of different coding environments, but find the one you like, find the one that makes coding fun. Find the one that makes it really easy to get that fast feedback. That one of the reasons why starting in web development can be so much fun is that you can just hit refresh and you see it and it's like, yes. And there's not like a big compile. I mean, compiling can be awesome. It can be so cool to learn about how compilers work. How do you take code in one form and turn it into a version of code that can be accepted by a different runtime environment, a different kind of machine, or a Raspberry Pi or a phone or whatever it is. And that whole process is really cool, but sometimes it can be a little frustrating to start out with. So that's why I think sometimes starting with these really good polished environments, whether that's Xcode or Android Studio or just like building in IntelliJ, provides a great suite of tools to find that environment, get that quick feedback, and just have fun with it.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned like having fun, right? You want to have fun with the code. You want to have fun with projects that you're working on. And I know that like you love coding so much. It's clear it's coming out like as you're talking about it, and you've done projects outside of work. Can you talk a little bit about that? I remember there was actually a really bizarre project you did in 2018. There was a bug, there were lights. Can you talk about that one?
It was a really big bug. Yeah, so this is the Kylo pod, and I was so like, I'm just blessed. I just feel so grateful that I was able to get involved in this project. So the Kylo pod has made appearances at a bunch of different kind of music and art festivals because it's just such a cool project. And it's this big sculpture that you can climb on. There's a big slide. And basically, there was a whole bunch of people involved. I mean, there were dozens of people probably involved in the manufacturing and the transportation, the assembly, actually like getting all the LEDs and soldering them together and then packaging them and programming all the behavior. And so basically, I was involved in that behavior. So the Kylo pod is a really cool project, still in development. Is really interesting because people can interact with it. And so we were actually using Raspberry Pis in order to basically program different sensors that would detect when someone slid down the slide or touched buttons that were all over its legs. And then basically as you were interacting and playing with it, it got excited. And then that excitement led to it breathing, and it led to it, expressing itself like a chameleon with all these like wild colors. And it also started to play music and sounds, and it got excited and it would yell and shriek, and it was just super cool. So I was helping program that logic so that I could respond to those interactions in kind of a predictable, fun, entertaining way.
And so you had, I mean, that's a complex project, man. Like I was just trying to pull it apart in my head, like with all the
They were both processing,
all the lights in it, putting it together, and like you put it together for the festival. I mean, first of all, what did you use to power the whole thing? Like, what's the brain inside it? Because that's blowing my mind. And then you say it's still in development. I mean, all the best projects are constantly in development, right? No project is ever finished. But like, I'm interested in that too. So sorry, tell me what the brain for the thing was. Like, how did you?
So the brain for the thing was like a it was think of it like an octopus. It had a distributed brain. So we did have like an IBM ThinkPad that was kind of, I think we actually buried it underground or something, but it was tucked away. And on the IBM ThinkPad was running this programming environment called Touch Designer, which is super cool. And so yeah, this is it right here. And so you can see this is a UI that we built in Touch Designer so that we could basically test it. This is kind of the testing environment. And so what you're doing here is there was someone who helped out, contributed to the project by making this 3D model so that we could do this testing. You can see in the top right corner, there's an image, basically a bitmap that's constantly evolving and changing, and that's basically being projected into little slices that are that are kind of being woven around its legs. And this was just such a fun environment to work in, because you can build these UIs, and you can basically build little components in Touch Designer that do audio or visual processing in real time. And so you can do things like feed it an MP3, and you can control the volume and things, but you can feed it like your favorite song, and then you can start to process that. you can process that music. And so as the maybe the hi-hat of the song or the bass tones or the high frequencies, you can use that and process it, and you can create these outputs that serve as inputs to the visual components of your project. And so it's a very cool environment. Super
You
fun.
built a synesthesia machine. That's amazing. That's super cool.
Yeah, and you can see the bottom left, those are
We
the
also zoom in.
those are the touch sensors. So those represent like the buttons on the legs. And so we would test it, and you can see that right now so here's the network actually. And so this network shows how we do the processing. And what's so cool about Touch Designer is they have these pre-built components. This is what I mean about finding an environment that's fun and exciting. So there's these pre-built components that do things like audiovisual processing. And then on top of that, you can write your own code. And so you can make a little component with a little bit of a custom script maybe. And I know it supports Python. It probably supports other languages too. And so yeah, you can use that, and the outputs of one component feed into the inputs of the other. And so you can see how I was controlling actually the probability of whether or not like a participant interacting or going down the slide was going to trigger the Kylopod to enter into a more excited state. So I think there was it could be resting, it could be, I think, excited, it could be elated, and then I think it could be ecstatic. So we just kind of went crazy with it. It was super fun.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Juan-Carlos, for coming on and sharing. And I think the theme that I've been seeing in the chat and you really just emphasized was just having fun. Having fun with the work that you're doing. And I have always respected you for shifting careers so you could have fun with energy and with solar, something you were passionate about. And it's so neat to have you come on and share about this project. It was really neat. It was so cool. It was unexpected. And so really appreciate you joining us. And we'll have to bring you on again. How does that sound?
Definitely.
Yeah.
That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Juan-Carlos. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah. Cheers. Take care.
Thanks, mate. Catch you later. Oh, so cool.
Yeah, thank you, Carlos. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. To be honest, I know I joked about it, but we've never really gone in depth into what he does. I just know he is a software engineer. So to be able to talk about that and hear about his work and his passions and to have him share that, clearly he was excited. We're clearly related. We get excited about the topics we're passionate about. So that was really neat. That was super
it was very cool. And I think that's the thing though, lots of software engineers are used to people going, oh, what do you do? I'm a software engineer. And then when they go into the detail of what they do, people sort of glaze over. So most of them just go, I make software and sort of leave it at that. And I think that might be the default conversation they have. But I love talking to him about the Kylopod. That thing blew my mind. That is amazing. Such a cool thing with the interactions from the crowd and stuff. Genius. I'm sparking so many ideas off of it.
Yeah.
And I love also...
Yeah, I just have to say, my dad obviously was really excited about it in the chat. He was like, the Kylopod! It was a project he was also super excited my brother was working on too. So thanks for your enthusiasm, Dad.
But the other one that really struck me was how he mentioned that a class at school made him change majors and pursue a career in coding, which is that's cool. I love that when people do, they go, no, this is my passion. I'm going to follow this. I'm going to make cool stuff with technology. And I love that when people follow their dream and get there and they just love it. And you can tell that your brother loves it every day. It's
so neat.
But should we crack on with the coding? Because we're going to do some web
We've got a project. Let's do it.
We got some people in the chat. I think Yash was saying in the chat earlier that they wanted to host a website over their Raspberry Pi. So this is a nice step in for that.
This is for you, buddy. This is for you, friend. Right? Yes.
Absolutely. So I've got my Raspberry Pi desktop up. So you're looking at it here. This is just my standard Raspberry Pi desktop. And what we're going to do now is we're going to make a really simple website, just saying super duper basic, and I'm going to host it over the Raspberry Pi so that I can get it on my local network. So at the moment, all I'm going to be doing is sticking it on my Pi and then exposing it from my Raspberry Pi to my home network. So you can't get to it from the internet or anything, but from here I can do it. And the next step is then just to expose it to the whole internet. So once you get this down, the next step is not so complex. The first thing I do is make a place to put my website, right? So I'm going to make a folder in here and I'm going to call it site. Nice new folder here, spanky new fancy folder here, which is called site. And then inside this, I'm going to make a text file. That's literally all I need. So accessories, text editor, cool. And then
making a folder, and now I've got a text file for folks following along at home.
So my text file is literally going to be a little bit like a HTML header, a couple of tags, and then that's all I'm going to do. So I'm going to go. Cool. So what I've got here is my HTML tags. At the top it says HTML telling the interpreter. This is a HTML document, so you can open it in a web page. And H1 is to make it a header 1. So that's the biggest size text that I can get. And I'm not styling in any real way. I just am doing it as the test to make sure it works today. And then when I get to it, typo.
You can change those numbers, right? I remember Maymuna talking with us about web development in the past. H1, you could make that H2, H3, H4. Yeah. And what changes about the numbers? The numbers change.
So it makes it smaller. So changing the numbers makes the writing smaller.
I just saw what you wrote. Thanks.
Okay, cool. So that is essentially all I need to make a website, right? That's enough to make a text-based website. So I can save that. Where do I want to save it? I want to save it in site, and I want to call it index.html. That's it. Okay, cool. Website. So now I've got this index.html. When I open it, it will open my web browser, and it will show me the website that I have. So that's Digital Making Home. Christina is the best.
It's a great website.
Right. See, it's it's true, so that's fine. We've got veracity there, so that's important. So we've got our index.html web page. That's a web page now, and so all I want to do is the first thing I have to do is find out what my Raspberry Pi is on the network. So I open my terminal. Here's my terminal. I type hostname space -I and enter. And that number there is the address of my Raspberry Pi on my home network. So my Raspberry Pi is 192.168.1, which most of my other devices will have. That's my home network. And then the last number, last number, is its individual address. And this one's 24. So I'm going to remember that, 192.168.124, because I'm going to need it a bit later. So in here, I'm going to go Python 3, okay, mhttp.server, and then 8,000. Okay. Oh, dude, that's right. That's what I did wrong. Okay, so.
Oh, yeah, we got this.
I need to be in the site page. That's right. Okay, so sorry, everybody. So I navigate into my folder where my web page is before I do this part. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm setting it up to serve from my Raspberry Pi computer, which is here on my desktop, and it's going to serve a HTTP website across port 8000, which I'm going to open up on my phone, and then I'm going to be able to load that website. So run that. Oh, hang on a sec. What have I got wrong? Let's see. Debug. Why not?
All right, he's debugging, folks. See if you can identify it. And I'm seeing folks talking about making if you want to put on the public web. Eddie's Tech and YouTube is giving some suggestions. Thanks so much, Eddie's Tech. And yeah, let's love the chat. And if you all have questions, feel free to pop them into the chat. We've got a little bit of feedback going. You might be going a little bit fast. So we'll definitely thank you so much, Rainbow Colorful. We'll slow down a little bit. Also, Rainbow Colorful, this is recorded. So this will be on our YouTube channel. So you can always watch it again. But thanks for letting us know that. I appreciate that on Twitch.
Sure, it's telling me I don't have this module. I had it running earlier today.
Oh, I have to. Oh, Jafia, I'm looking at the chat again. I'm seeing that. Jafia, hello again from Tunisia. Welcome back. It's always great to see folks who have joined us in previous. We're making a little Digital Making at Home family. So it's so great. Welcome back. And let us know in the chat, if this is your first time joining Digital Making at Home, or if you've been here before, definitely put it in the chat. We want to give you a shout out for joining us again. We've got Vivek might have a suggestion. Let's see. Oh, nice. All right.
Got it.
Yay!
So I just removed the port call out and let it make it itself, and so it just did it on its own and gave me the right address. So I've got my website, so that's there. So that's cool. We got it. Whew.
Everyone take a moment to celebrate. That was awesome. Shout out to Mr. C for doing some live coding. It's always makes us. It's always nerve-wracking, but it's always exciting because we always push through, and I think that's such an important point. We always push through, and I appreciate that. Right. Oh, so we're adding some images.
Okay, so.
All right, let's see.
Yeah, I'll just put from there. So what I've got is your image here. So I've got an image that I've saved inside my pictures folder here. So I've got a folder, a little picture here. I'm going to bring it and drop it into my, where's my site folder got to? There it is, going blind. So I'll copy that into there. And now I've added that text in here. So my image, this image tag here, and I'm going to pull it through as DMAH and just save that there.
All right. I see Ian's making a joke in the chat saying that at least it proves it's live when we're making the finding the errors in there. Thanks, Ian.
All right, let's check that and let's see if that's working. Okay, refresh. Aha. Pow, now I've got an image.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
So that's it. That's all you have to do to serve a website across your internal network, images and stuff like that. And then it's just a matter of going through and doing a bit more HTML work, which you can do in Trinket if you want to see, like we were talking earlier with Juan-Carlos about tools that are handy. Trinket is a really good one for this because you can put HTML on one side and watch it change on the right-hand side. So what we'll do now is I can do a thing across my network where I can stream video. So I've got a Raspberry Pi set up with a Pi camera connected. This is the one that we're VNC'd into now. It's got a Pi camera stuck to it that's sort of like pointing at me, and I can stream the thing that it's looking at across my home network as well. So should we give that a crack?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yes.
Oh, so we've got before we jump into that, Mr. C, we have a question in the chat.
Okay, cool.
What URL is used on the phone to make it display? He was just saying it was too small to see.
Great question. So I just navigate to the IP address of my Raspberry Pi. So I just type into my address bar 192.168.1.24 and go, and it loads it up. It loads up what it's serving, and it brings it straight across to me. And it will do the same thing here. So I'll also be able to load up the same sort of IP address just directly to the Raspberry Pi that's streaming, and it will do the work we need to do. So to do this, though, we do need to get some code that we're going to borrow. So it's in the documentation for the Pi camera. So you can go to picamera.readthedocs.io, and I'm going to do it here. So I've got the documentation here, and we just go to advanced recipes. So you see that load up. And then underneath advanced recipes, there's one that's for video streaming. So it's 4.10 for web streaming. Load up. There we go.
We've got the link up here, and we'll also add it into the chat if you want to go check it out. It's picamera.readthedocs.io.
Now it's going to take this code here. So everything that's in the green backdrop, all of this code here. So this is the documentation, and lots of people like get a bit funny about it when you take code from other places and don't reference it. I also do a little bit, like if someone's done the work, then you should reference it where you've got it. But with the documentation, it's been provided as the example. This is the best practice example of what to do. And the idea is that you can take it, change it, mess with it, make it do other things. But this is the one that the developer wrote for you to use as your first example. So totally fine to do that. I'm going to save my Python script. I've literally just pasted all of that text straight into Mu as a flat file. And there's a couple of bits I can change, actually. So let's not just leave it as a default. So up here, we'll change this up here to...
While you're changing that, I'm going to say hi to Natalia in California. Natalia saying that she loves the Raspberry Pi shirt. I'm assuming both. They're both some pretty cool Raspberry Pi shirts. And you have your 6-year-old daughter. What's her name? Hello, Natalia's daughter. I'm Christina. It's so nice to meet you. We're so excited that you're here with us and learning about coding.
Okay, so I'm just going to go straight back into here.
All right. Always press save. I know something in our past projects you've forgotten to save, so
I have, yes, always save your work. Yes. Okay, so I've just saved it as streaming.py. So I'm going to get this out of my way. Get rid of my low voltage warning. So you can see it's there. I've got my Python file. So I'm just going to go back to the terminal. And I'm going to check to make sure my file is there. There it is, streaming.py. And I've killed the old socket, so that's no problem at all. And so all I want to do is run the code like this. Oh, that's another typo.
Gotta watch the typos.
Yeah, totally. I'm making a million of them today. Okay. No news is good news. Let's check. Okay, and so you can see here, I'll just zoom it in a little bit for you. So it looks a little bit pink, but look, you see me. Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's you! I love it!
So I've got it so you can see.
Oh no,
No?
there's so much
So
excitement. The
it's a
computer's excited. You froze for a bit.
It's a little bit weird because it's pink. It's a pink camera because I put an infrared camera on there because I'm hoping to use this as like a baby monitor later. So I can set it up in the
Oh,
It's yeah, so it works. It's doing its thing.
oh, I love that. Oh,
It's cool, right?
yeah, that's super cool. That's really cool. Like we did it. Yes.
That's it, right? You could use that. So that's just a really basic tool, and that was literally just pinched out of the documentation, and then we ran the Python script with a little bit of a difference on it. But that you could do that as you could put it on a robot, and drive a robot around with a little camera on it. You could have a handheld camera that you take and stream video. Make a security doorbell, right? It's a tool. It's a thing that you can now take and apply to all sorts of amazing projects that you want to do.
Gosh, I'm gonna make a camera for Cassie. I'm really excited. And Vivek, yeah, it is awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. C. Super cool. Nice
work.
No
worries. Yeah, no, it's nice. Like I love having something that there's a practical use, so you can like go away, take this tool, and take up your life a bit, or automate something that you want to pass off to a robot. Yeah, it's always good to do those sorts of things. I had a great time. It's stressful.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, and Natalia just said her daughter's name is Kiwi. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. An Irish name. We've got Irish colleagues. So thanks so much, Kiwi, for joining us and learning with us today. And for folks at home, including Kiwi, if you make a project, you could enter your project in Coolest Projects. Coolest Projects is one of our amazing programs where young people around the world can showcase what they've made with code. Project registration is well underway. The last day to submit a project is May 3rd. So check out coolestprojects.org and share your project with the world. We'd love to see it.
Absolutely. And it was so great to see so many of our community getting involved in the chat this week. Shout out to Eddie Check, to Newa, and all the other people who were jumping in there saying things. And thank you very much to Juan-Carlos for coming on to chat with us today. Amazing to chat with you, mate. I'm excited to see some of the cool projects that our viewers might be able to come up with for Coolest Projects, our festival this year.
Me too. Good luck to everyone. I want to see your projects. Now, that's all the time we have for this week, though you can always get in touch with us. Send us an email at dmah@raspberrypi.org to ask a question or show us something that you've made. And if you're working on a project and you want to share it with us, tweet a picture of it to us at raspberry_pi. We'd love to see it.
Absolutely. And before you go, make sure to like and subscribe so that you are the first to know when we go live and get updates on all the other great content on our channel as we release it. We are all about supporting young makers around the world with fresh new content every week, so don't miss out. Thank you all for being here for the Raspberry Pi Foundation's Digital Making at Home live stream this week. We're back at the same time next week with more digital making. Until then, stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you next time. Later, Christina.
Catch you later. Bye.